The spirit of Antichrist, we can look in our world today. The stage has been set up with the diplomacy, with all of the agreements that have been made amongst these nations to destroy Israel, right? Don't we see this happening? All of these agreements taking place. That is signs that the birthing pains are getting closer. You know, so people say, well, they've been saying about earthquakes for hundreds of years. That's right. But there's still evidence of it getting closer. And the more you see these happening, then the more you can draw the conclusion, wow, it's even getting closer now. Right now, the volcanologists are saying they have never seen more volcanoes in recorded history that are active than now. Never. In the time when they have started recording. Those that studied the earthquakes have said they have never seen the platonic activities in the world with the earthquakes that have been happening to the degree that they've been happening like now. It's unprecedented. Why? The birthing pains are getting closer. I submit that white horse, one on the white horse was sent out as spirit of the Antichrist, at some point would manifest himself into a person. Moving on to the next horse here, and I want to try to get through this, and unfortunately I didn't put my timer down there, so we're just going to go until we go. Yeah, so, the second seal was opened in verse 6. Read that for me, or verse 3 and 4. Read that for me while I wet my whistle here.
When he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature saying, "Come and see." Another horse, fiery red, went out, and it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth, and that people should kill one another, and there was given to him a great sword.
So, keep in mind that the white horseman, he's still riding. You understand? This one's coming out following him. So that spirit of Antichrist is going to be working, and the Antichrist himself is going to be working through the whole 7 years. That whole first layer of sand is going to go all the way out until Jesus puts his foot back up on the earth and casts the devil into the lake of fire in Revelation 20:10. So this is the second horseman that's been given permission to go out now that the Antichrist has already set up conditions for the last days. Now we see the next phase. Keep in mind, this is not the devil, even though this is disastrous stuff, even though this is a scary stuff. This is a part of God's plan. These 7 seals is God's judgment upon Israel and upon everybody upon the earth is being played out. The judgment of God was released, upon all mankind through the whole fall of the Adam and Eve. From the time Adam and Eve fell, there was a judgment upon the earth, and it's been playing out some 7,000 years, going on 7,000 years. This judgment was reserved specifically for the remnant of Israel. So keep in mind, judgment is not complete destruction or annihilation. Judgment is designed to get people to repent, get people to call upon the Lord. So these 7 seals is designed to get whoever is living at that time when this is unfolding, get them this evidence of God's grace and mercy. This seal, these seals, is the evidence of God's love for humanity. He's given humanity an opportunity to repent so that they can be eternally forgiven and eternally free. Even though it's scary, and even though it's ugly, and even though it's painful, and even though many would say it's cruel, this is God's plan to restore us. So now there is a red horse that's going out, and this horse was granted the authority I believe, by that Antichrist spirit that is riding that first horse, because he's given the authority to go out, right? With diplomacy. So he's already set the conditions, made the alliances with those that need to be to allow this second horseman to go out and steal peace, to preach and to speak a spirit of fear upon the land. Oh, I'm telling you, there's been a spirit of fear upon this nation for the last 5 years to 6 years like I've never seen in the 51 years that I have been born. 51 years I have been saved. I'm actually older than that. I'm 68. But I've been spiritually born. I'm 52 years old in the Lord. And in my 52 years old, since the pandemic, from the pandemic to now, there's been such fear-mongering upon our planet, not just in America, but it's been fear-mongering from our government, fear-mongering from all over the world. And it's still going on. Now, there are things that we are, that are alarming. But keep in mind, if this is true and we're entering into these seals, then it's God's plan, isn't it? The devil's doing it. Evil forces and people who have submitted their hearts and their minds and their bodies as an instrument to the evil forces to implement this fear-mongering. The reality is it is God's plan. And it is and it has stole peace from the earth. Has it not? Look at this. Right now, it is the highest level. The mental health community will tell you that suicide from the age of 5 years old all the way up, to seniors as old as we get, suicide rate has gone through the roof. But what's alarming is, there's always been a level of suicide, but what's alarming is how young it's starting now. From the age of 5, and some would say 4, people, they're killing themselves because they're afraid. The 20-year-olds. Used to be the 20-year-olds were the ones that were, happy-go-lucky, fearless, not afraid of anything. That's the way I was. I was looking back on some of the stuff that I did. I think you're so stupid. If you really knew how dangerous that was, you'd be afraid to do that. Well, that generation is dealing with thoughts of suicide. The elderly, it said suicide among the elderly has extremely gone up. What is that a sign of? Sign of peace being stolen, right? Mm-hmm. Peace being taken from the earth. The only peace that is going to settle us in the last days is the peace that Jesus talked about in the book of John, chapter 14. He said, my peace I leave with you. Not as the world give you, am I giving you, but my peace I leave with you. In other words, I'm going to give you a peace that cannot be explained by Webster's dictionary. Webster's dictionary says that peace is a state of being where there is no resistance from the front, no resistance from the back, but it is all calm. Well, you and I both know, you read this, that is not the description of the peace of a Christian. He said, I give you a peace that in the midst of all of the chaos, in the midst of even the crisis, the most scariest times, that you can have a calm assurance inside of you that I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I don't know how our nation's going to get through this. I don't know why these things happen, like these martyrs. Do you know that right now in America, more churches are being attacked? They won't show you this. Social media, the fake news. They won't show you how many churches that are being bombed, how many churches that are being attacked, how many churches that are burning up. They don't want you to know the high levels of every month, how many churches have been attacked. They don't. If what happened up in Michigan with that church would have been a Muslim mosque, if it would have been a Jewish temple, if it would have been a Hindu shrine, this would be outcry all over the place. We don't hear outcry, do we? Because it's Christian churches being martyred. This is exactly what it says. What we saw happen with Charlie Kirk is just the beginning of the sorrows. What happened in the fifth seal opened up, it says, who are all of these people that are underneath the throne here crying out, how long, oh God, how long are you going to wait to vindicate us? How come you're not going to rise up to our defense and vindicate us for wrongly being murdered like Charlie? He said, until the rest of you who are, rest of your brothers, rest of the body, those that are saved at that moment, have gone through the same persecution that you had and the same martyrism that you had. It is clear that in the last days, the persecution of Christians are going to be to a level that no one could ever imagine. And it's going to be brought on by the spirit of Antichrist, by the spirit of Islam, by the spirit of, you name it. It doesn't matter who it is. Antifa, Black Lives Matter, it doesn't matter. There's going to be a spirit of Antichrist coming against the Christians. And here's the thing. The days of preaching the gospel and getting a hand clap and getting a nod on your head is gone. Preaching the gospel today is dangerous. Preaching the gospel today is going to provoke the same anger that we seen happen with Charlie. They didn't kill him because he was preaching hate speech. Somebody killed him because they hated the speech he was speaking. And you go back, I defy anybody who says he preached hate. Go back and listen to what he preached. He was talking about Jesus. He was an evangelist. He was not a political advocate, people. He was an evangelist. That horseman, red horseman, the horseman that went out on this horse was given permission to steal peace. I tell you what, if we're not in the 7 years right now, we're right on the threshold because the birthing pains we're seeing, right? Haven't we seen? Peace right now. There are uncertain times right now. Speaking about world war, Russia's president just said a few weeks ago that World War III, NATO, we are at war with NATO. World War III has started. That's scary. That is robbing the peace. Scripture says that they will run to the mountains and their hearts will fail them. This is what Jesus said. Their hearts, in the last days, their hearts would fail them. They would have heart attacks. Their health would completely be taken from them for the fear of the things that are coming upon this world. People, we're at the threshold. I don't know exactly where we're at in as far as time is, but I want to try to pull this together, and I know I'm going to have to come back in the next study, and we'll start off here again. But when we look at this, this red horse, and then you move at the fourth seal, third seal with the black horse. The black horse is when basically war starts. People, is being given the devil. The Antichrist is given the permission to stir up war. And this is what's going on. Again, there's always been wars. Not like now. Right now, there is wars all over. You don't hear about the wars going on in Africa and all those countries down there. You don't hear about the wars a lot of the infighting wars are going on amongst the Muslim countries. What you hear right now is against Israel and Iran. Or you hear what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, but there are wars going on all over. Birthing pains. We are at the threshold, and it could be very possible that we have walked in to the 7 years of tribulation. If that's true, I believe that we're getting ready to be taken out here as the body of Christ. And looking at this fourth seal here, and I'll have to get back into it again in another lesson that we have. the fourth seal with the pale horse, with all of the plagues, and the pestilence. What it's talking about is famine, droughts. It's talking about people dying because the food is poisoned. People are dying because, food scarcity. And at some point, it's going to get so bad that we're not going to have money to feed animals. And the animals are going to be so hungry and that they're not going to be able, we've moved these animals out. There's no forest for these animals. That's why it says the animals, the beasts of the earth are going to be eating people. Well, what's going to happen when we push them out of their environments and we don't have zoos and we can't feed them anymore? They're going to break loose. They're going to eat anything that's moving. Now, we're not there yet. But right now, we do know that there is a food shortage. The Antichrist spirit has been destroying our food sources. From our meat sources to our manufacturing plants all over. Look, close to 140 food-producing companies in America within the last 6 months to a year have been destroyed. Who's doing that? Do you think they're just accidentally blowing up? Some evil force is destroying our food sources. Why? Because with the food shortages, they can control you. This is how the Antichrist, mark of the beast, is going to control people. Is that if you want to eat, you're going to take the mark of the beast. Why? Because you're not going to be able to go out and grow your own food. And you're not going to be out, even if you did, your soil's going to be tainted and poisoned. So it's going to kill you. In order to eat, you're going to have to take the mark of the beast. You see how the conditions have to be set up? This couldn't unfold, 20 years ago. Why? Because we didn't have the method and the ability to label everybody and to follow everybody across the world. You can drive from the very southern tip of Florida all the way up to the very tip of Maine, and they have intersections all the way where they can follow you. They've got cameras. But not only that, they can follow you through these phones. And what they want to do, and this was one of the complaints that we had with the in vaccinations and everything, was with the nanobots that are in. They can track you through your phone. They want to get this chip in you so they can track wherever you're at. You can't run from them. What's so dangerous about AI, quantum computers, is that they don't need somebody sitting in front of a computer following you. All they got to do is, boom, we want to know where all the Christians are going. This person, is a Christian, claims a Christian, boom. This thing can make calculations that would take years for anybody sitting behind a computer. For one person, they can make calculations in a quantics theory. I can tell you, ever since you got a phone, ever since we started recording, every place that you've been. Okay, this is what the credit system is all about, people. The Antichrist can follow you. You've been in credit. If you're not doing what we tell you to do, then we'll just stop. You can't access your funds. This is one of the reasons why in the last days we're talking about a digital currency. Now, I'm not making any comparisons or anything about Bitcoin or anything else. I'm just telling you what the Bible said. In the Bible, last days it said that there will be one currency, there will be one government, there will be one army, and it will be Antichrist driven. Now, I'm not saying that that's what it is. I'm saying that that is the technology that's going to be used for the Antichrist. These horses that are riding out are the spirit of the Antichrist. It could be government policies. It could be a group of governments like NATO, or the NATO nations controlling. I believe that it has more to do, like this red horse, to take peace, has more to do with governments Government's shutting us down. In America, we have the God constitutional right to assemble wherever we want. In some states, you couldn't go nowhere during the pandemic. We have been given inalienable rights. We are instilled by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And governments have been set to protect these rights. Governments have not been set to give us rights. They've been set to protect these rights. But we see governments, we see mayors, we see governors of states. We have seen, the fake administrations, out there, and I won't get into all that right now, or I'm going to get distracted. Telling you, you can't do this, you can't do that. Why? Because it's a part of taking the peace. It's a part of setting up these pesos so they can control us. People, if the 7 years of tribulation has not started, we're on the threshold. And I'm not going to say that it is. I'm just going to say I do believe that white horse was sent out when Jesus ascended up on high, and he's set up the conditions, and the conditions are now time, marching time. It's marching. Before you're like, it's set back and wait 100 years and set up these. Now we're like this. This is the prophetic word going back in January. Remember when I said this new season, it's going to be a fast-moving season. Wow. The birthing pains, not in how short it is or how long it is, but in how fast things change. We can all sit here. This is October now. We can look back now already, 10 months. We have seen change after change after change, just shifting, realizing that prophetic prophecy has been fulfilled. Well, listen, I'm going to cut it off right there, and we'll come back in our next lesson. I'll open it up now for some Q&A. If you got some questions, we can answer those questions, and we'll edit it, bring it into our teachings there. So, does anybody have any questions? Yes, absolutely, it does. About the locusts, about the pestilence, and it's all creation. And right now, there is a living matter. It's alive. It is a bacteria that they say is moving through the water. It's coming from the south. From the Amazon area up through. It's gone through, and this thing is enormous. It is they call it. It is a living matter. It is a bacteria that is so poisonous, it's so deadly, and it's killing people. That is a part of this. The locusts, going back to what happened in the book of Joel, when it said that God used the locust and it destroyed all of the crops. We also see killer bees. Killer bees are everywhere now, and they are a hybrid. How did these bees come about? They're hybrids. They're not naturally created. Mankind has messed with the DNA. I believe that is also a sign of what Jesus said it will be as in the days of Noah before the flood. What happened before the flood? The DNA of mankind was polluted by the Nephilim, by the falling angels that basically took human wives for mating purposes. And the Nephilims were created. That polluted the gene pool. But not just that gene pool was polluted, all gene pool was polluted. We see the gene pool is being polluted purposely by man. Right now, there's conversations in Congress discussing what a human is. Why is that important? Because you see, these inalienable rights with our Constitution is reserved for humans. Now we have to discuss what is a human. Why is that important? Because we now have the attempt to create transhumans. What are transhumans? There's two forms of transhuman. Transhumans are humans that are taken and bred with animals to get an animal and a human. They've already done this. You know, read back in the Bible. You know, when you read place that I saw, you know, looked like a, you know, the head of a man and the body of a, you know, of a ox, and you know, they got a name, I can't remember they call them, I can't remember what they call them. But anyway, experiments have been done. It came out probably, it's probably been 5 years ago. China has successfully mixed a chimpanzee with a human, and they now have a transhuman, and this creature has lived for over 2 or 3 weeks. Well, I guarantee you, that creature didn't just live. Anytime they tell you they've done something, listen, they didn't just do it. It has been done for some time, and now it's just coming out. The other definition of transhuman is this, is taking human beings and putting technology inside of them, like with a chip. You know, and people say, well, you know, some people, I'm not going to mention names, have a chip in their head, and they're called the smartest people in the world. Well, what they're doing is, and it's true, they got a chip in their head. That chip, they don't need to go through their memory and pull up what they studied in here, or go to a dictionary and pull up something to learn something. All they got to do, they got the chip in their mind, and all they got to do, there's certain things they just got to think on, and it accesses the media. It accesses the quantum computers. In any subject that they can become an expert on any subject. They can pull up, okay, I know everything about this. That is the breeding, and the geneticist was asked. This was on, I heard this on a mainstream media network on a radio station, asking the congressman from, I think it was Delaware, asking him, you know, we're talking about discussing what a human is. Is this necessary? He said, yes, it is very necessary. And because we got to discuss, you know, because of people now that are getting these, anybody that's getting hearts now, anybody that's getting organs that has a chip in it. Do you know you can get a heart right now that's got a chip in it? That your heart doctor, you could be in Hawaii, and your heart doctor sitting in here, you know, in Ohio, can look and say, uh-oh, Ruth's got a problem with her heart. Call you up, look, Ruth. My aunt, before she passed away in 2020, they gave her a pad to lay on because she had heart problems. When you go to sleep at night, and 3 times a day, you need to go in there and lay on that pad for 30 minutes. What they were doing was gathering information from that pad, what was going on in her heart. Then they would call her up and say, hey, Helen, you need to take another 2 of those pills that we gave you. Well, now they got the technology to put that in the chip in your heart, and you don't need a pad. They already have it. It says that when they get enough technology in you, that now you become transhuman. How all of these series that we watched about these, you know, these super heroes, and you know, these bionic heroes, and you know, with these special abilities, you know, X-Men and all of that. You'll hear them as you in some of the. There's one that says multi-X, you know, and they'll say you have been genetically altered. Do you know that series was created in the late 1990s, talking about these people have these special abilities because their DNA has been altered. They were telling us what they were doing. This is a part of the last days. This is a part of the end times. Now when they put a heart in you, now if they put a lung in you, now if they, you know, you could put chips in your brain where, let's say you are having seizures. They can put a chip in your brain that can control those seizures. Now, this all sounds great, don't it? This is exactly what was discussed. And we're talking to, some of the candidates for the mayor. And this was what was discussed with President Trump and Elon Musk. And not too long ago, when they had people coming in talking about AI, said, look, we have the ability to put a chip in you and it can detect cancer in your body, and it can go right to where that cancer is, and it can dissolve it right now, and you don't ever have to have surgery. Now that sounds awesome, doesn't it? But if they got a chip in your body that they can go and stop cancer, then guess what they can do? You get somebody, this is why you got to stop from a moral standpoint and analyze this. Is this an area that we want to get into? Because if they have the ability to start your heart, they can have the ability, an evil antichrist spirit could get a hold of this technology. And I understand what President Trump said. President Trump said that if we're not the leaders in this, then somebody more evil than us, somebody that has an evil agenda with mankind gets this before we do, then everything's lost. If they can find cancer in you and they can go and stop cancer, they can certainly start cancer. And there was it was called the Conflict, and it's a series, goes way back to the early 90s. And it was about an alien invasion. And this alien invasion, they had this technology. And basically, the story went like this. They went in, and this guy said, we detect, through all of our technology that you have in your genes a cancer gene that could cause cancer. We can put this in your body. They didn't call it a chip, but we can put this in your body and it will prevent you from, it will change that DNA and it will prevent you from having it. Well, 3 months later that goes by after he had this done, everybody was looking at it as a great, phenomenal thing that happened in the series, and they were using it as advertising to get everybody to do it. Well, then in 3 months later, ended up that he had cancer, had a tumor. And when he went to them and say, hey, you said this is stop it. Well, come to find out, he didn't want to do what they told him to do. So you're not doing what we told you to do. If you do what we told you to do, we'll remove that tumor. And so he says, I'm not talking about this was a series they did back in early. It was called Conflict, Last Conflict or something. But he had to agree, or that cancer was going to kill him. What they did was they went in and put something in him, and it produced the cancer. This is all part of the Antichrist, mark of the beast, controlling. And the only way, like that fourth horseman, the pale horseman, that fourth horseman is that process to cause this to happen. Is the pestilence, the droughts, all of the plagues that are upon the earth, all a part of the last days. If we are not in the 7 years, we are on, the door is open, and we're getting ready to step in. That's what I believe. And I believe before we step in that the rapture is going to happen. And we've already discussed that. So thank you for asking that question. Anybody else with another question? That was a really good question. And we'll get into this even more. I'm going to continue in that revelation. Your homework is, like I said, read in the book of Daniel. Just go through it. And if some of you have a hard time reading and understand it, just listen to it, okay? Put it on and listen to it. And then if you got another translation, and you can listen to it in that, listen to the different translations, because it'll give you a working knowledge. Not that we're going to fully understand any prophecy until it unfolds. You keep in mind that we're just getting a glimpse. We're not going to be able, no one's going to be able to dictate. Remember when the guy said the rapture was going to happen here September the 21st, 2025? Well, that's already gone by, right? I said, well, 100% accuracy, I can tell you, rapture is not going to happen on that day. But he said we can be aware of this. Why? So that we can get ready, stay ready, help others get ready, and help them stay ready. And that's our job. Why? Because the spirit of conviction through the Holy Spirit is always going to be here with God's grace and mercy to save people. And that's what our job is, to make disciples. So thank you. When you see these studies coming up on Facebook, take them and share them on your Facebook, because even the unsaved are asking the question, is this the last days? This will help them understand. So thank you so much for being here.